Today in crypto, public interest in Bitcoin is spiking at a time of massive price uncertainty. CNN warns people not to take their money out of the bank. Italy gets a ray of light in an otherwise dark time. And if you are stuck at home in isolation, then I've got some good news for you about some things that you can do to help pass the time. The CryptoLark. This is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out there in the wild, wild world of crypto land. By the way, if you are new to crypto, then you need to check out my beginner course called Cryptocurrency Explained. Now, this is a course that will walk you through all of the basics of crypto, like how to buy Bitcoin, how to send Bitcoin, how to store Bitcoin, all of that stuff and much, much more. There's a link down below in the description where you can learn more about that course. So, the price of Bitcoin is back under $6,000. Well, at least at the time recording this video. It's been all over the place the last couple of days. But this $6,000 zone, I think has been a quite important one over the last week. Looking here at the daily, we are still in an uptrend from the bottom last week. At the moment, we are seeing a retest of that key trend line. Now, a retest and a bounce, that would be nice to see, but we are also about 2 days away from a death cross on the daily for Bitcoin, which is obviously not a good sign to see. There does remain a strong chance that prices will go much, much lower as the economic crisis continues to unfold. And wow, the last week, it's just been crazy when we look at the prices of all these different assets fluctuating. Obviously, Bitcoin has not been immune to that. The price of Bitcoin has fluctuated from lows of $4,400 up to $7,000 and come quite a bit back down. Extreme volatility has been the trend over the last week. However, in spite of all of that craziness, and especially if you look at that weekly candle from last week, Bitcoin looks to be closing above the 200-week moving average in a nice fashion, which is definitely great to see, but we are still in a very precarious market here. A further fall in price would really not be surprising since that weekly candle, look at the wicks on that thing. That is far from a convincing, solid candle. I would really like to see a nice, strong green candle painted above and closed fully above the 200-week moving average to get just a little bit more confidence back into the markets, but we will have to wait and see how next week closes out. This week's candle, it does have a nice start, but since the equities are likely to get slaughtered again this week, Bitcoin may not remain immune to these wider market trends, so tread carefully out there for the traders. Now, interestingly, in spite of the prevailing economic turmoil, there's actually a strong interest in Bitcoin around the world. Bitcoin inquiries, for example, are up 183% on Baidu over the past 30 days, showing that Chinese investors, at least, are taking a huge and renewed interest in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin searches are also up big time on Google, jumping from 29 all the way up to 57 as a search term on Google Trends. The last time the search trends were this high for Bitcoin was all the way back in June of last year, of course, when the price was absolutely exploding. Now, usually we see public interest in Bitcoin spike when the price goes up, which makes this moment quite exceptional because we are seeing search volumes for Bitcoin exploding while the price of Bitcoin is down. We are in a major global macroeconomic event, suggesting that people are actually looking to buy Bitcoin when it is cheap, which is definitely awesome to see. Now, also data from major exchanges like Coinbase is showing that currently more than 70% of the activity on the exchange is actually people buying Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. So it would seem to indicate that, yes, this is indeed what is happening. People see Bitcoin as being cheap right now, and they are Googling it or hopping on Baidu and looking to buy it. Now let's move on to the big story of the day. Over in the United States, the fallout effects from the virus are really starting to grind down on the economy. Goldman Sachs estimates that 2.25 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits just last week. That is the biggest number on record. It's absolutely unprecedented and it's just insane. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, what we could be seeing. Tens of millions more jobs are at risk in the coming weeks. Entire sectors of the economy are about to be shut down. And of course, this is not just the US that we're talking about, but all across the world. There is nowhere that will not be impacted one way or another from what is going on. And look, just a quick word here on buying Bitcoin right now. Your first priority has to be to take care of yourself and take care of your family first and foremost. So please make sure that you've got enough cash on hand to be able to ride this event out. I know there's a decent percentage of people out there who you're privileged enough and you're going to be okay. You're going to keep buying throughout the crisis. This is a massive opportunity for you because you've been saving for this kind of event. You've got a lot of cash on hand. And of course, the traders out there, they're really unconcerned about this kind of event as well, since if you're a trader, you're making money if it's going up, you're making money if it's going down. It's all good. And yes, of course, much like the stock markets, we will also see whales and institutions stacking crypto when the fear is high in the market. But please, 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 if you are on a fixed income, and particularly if you're someone who is at high risk of losing your job in the coming weeks, then make sure that you are being very careful with your finances. Sure, Bitcoin is doing okay today, but it could easily crash again. Always remember that the market can remain irrational for longer than you can remain solvent. Bitcoin is a fantastic long-term investment, but short-term, many people are going to have very different priorities aside from making long-term investments into cryptocurrency. So if that is you, then please be careful with your finances in the coming months. Crypto is always going to be here. There's always going to be opportunity here in crypto land. Keep that in mind. Just remember that as we watch the global economy tank, that things could get way, way worse before they start getting better. Anyway, sadly, our society seems to be geared towards the reality of socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor and the middle classes. So while the average family out there, you're encouraged to save money for a rainy day, companies, they never seem to face these kind of problems. Now, in the good years, companies, they pocket the profits, and of course, through a web of different loopholes, they pay basically bugger all in taxes. And when they do hit a bad year or a massive crisis like this, or the 2008 global financial crisis happens, then they put their hands out to the government asking for free money. You know, at this stage, it's so unsurprising. Anyway, it seems that in the US, people are going to get a check in the mail from the government. Up to $3,000 is the number that's being floated around currently. But of course, Congress is stalling the bill, trying to implement different means testing or trying to work some kind of, like, maybe we'll do a future tax credit thing or something like that. Just understand what a massive pile of BS that is, because the banks, the airlines, casinos, yes, casinos will be getting bailouts. Let the insanity of that sink in for a second. Cruise lines, oil companies, these guys never get means tested. They just get the money. No questions asked because they bribe politicians. Of course they get the money. These are the same companies that have spent the last 10 years doing stock buybacks to inflate their stock prices. These are some of the most profitable companies on the planet. And yet none of them have rainy day funds. And you know what? Why would they? They know that when things get tough, that the government will bail them out. They win no matter what. It doesn't matter how fiscally irresponsible these companies are. They always win. And right now in the USA, the US Congress is even looking at buying corporate debt. So along with the bailouts of the major corporations, they're also looking at actually gobbling up corporate debt. Now, who's going to have to pay that off in the future, I wonder? Now, the US Fed has also stepped up their repo operations, basically confirming that there will now be $1 trillion in daily repo available. Now, do note that this is not a trillion new dollars every day, but is a daily allocation of $1 trillion, so that money is borrowed in the evening, repaid on a daily basis. So it's just $1 trillion in liquidity overall, not, 7 trillion a week or whatever. Now that, of course, is double what they proposed last week when it was announced that $500 billion we put up for the repo markets. Now it is $1 trillion. Maybe it'll be $2 trillion next week. In total, the coronavirus economic relief bill will provide up to $4 trillion in liquidity for U.S. markets at the time of recording this video. Again, we could see a lot more liquidity coming out. Similar responses have been seen all around the world, with central banks offering up billions of dollars in stimulus and billions of dollars in loans to the economic sector. Now, is this capitalism? Because it sure doesn't look like it to me. Surely capitalism would say that these criminally irresponsible companies, that they should fail in this situation, right? It seems more like we actually have a corrupt crony shit show where corporations buy politicians and run the governments, and everyone else kinda gets screwed. By the way, I'm sure you're going to love this next story that I have for you. CNN has informed their viewers, do not take a bunch of cash out of the bank because of the coronavirus. Now that to me says that you probably need to take your money out of the bank. Try to do the opposite of what CNN is saying when it comes to things like this. Now they went on to say that bank deposits are insured, you shouldn't be worrying, you have the FDIC, so you have to keep everything safe and just trust the system and all that stuff. Look, as a reminder, the FDIC in America, it only covers around 1% of deposits in the USA. Shocking, I know, right? They don't tell you that part, do they? 1% of deposits. But more than the BS about the FDIC is that you know why they don't want you to take your money out of the bank. Because they don't frickin' have it. They only have a tiny fraction of total depositor cash. So you personally, you, one of you people watching this video, you can take your money. But everyone else watching this video, sorry about your bad luck. In fact, only a tiny fraction of people can actually go and get their money out of the banks. Thank you, fractional reserve banking. And I understand why people want to get their money out of the banks. The banks are not to be trusted all over the world. We see this happen. The banks screw people over big time. These are the same banks that stole more than 5 million people's homes in the last financial crisis. And these are the same banks that have been caught committing the worst kinds of fraud and treachery against their own clients time and time and time again. They have proven without a doubt that they cannot be trusted. Why the heck would we trust them in the middle of a crisis situation? The next thing you're going to be told is that you cannot have your money because cash is a corona spreader, which it is. They just haven't started using that line yet, but they probably will. Now, all of this makes you understand why Bitcoin is just so gosh darn powerful. Just remember, your bank, your money, not your bank, not your money. Bitcoin will never ask you why you want to access your money or tell you that you can't spend your Bitcoin because it spreads viruses or any of this kind of stuff. Bitcoin, digital gold, it's amazing stuff. Now, one bank, though, that seems to be up to speed with the times is Italy's Banco Sella, which in response to the outbreak is launching a Bitcoin trading service. Smart bank. Smart. So about 1.2 million Italians already use Banca Stella's Hype service to do transactions. And now in addition to being able to just buy and sell Bitcoin using this Hype platform from Banco Sella, Italians will also be able to pay for goods and services using their crypto. This is so nice to see that with the country in lockdown and Italians really unable to leave their houses, that this bank is actually capitalizing on this opportunity and offering Bitcoin to their clients. Nice. Don't think I want the bank to keep my Bitcoin, mind you, but it's good you can buy and sell it from them anyway. Now finally, if you are one of the many people who are now either in mandatory or in voluntary self-isolation, you're trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to do with all of my time? Then I've got some good news for you, because many of this season's major crypto conferences, they've moved online. So for example, you have Istanbul Blockchain Week. This has now been canceled and it has been reimagined as the virtual conference called Block Down. So speakers include famous crypto personalities, people like Roger Ver, and of course even less known crypto people for being famous for crypto, people like the famous rapper and now crypto entrepreneur Akon will also be joining the conference to discuss his A-Coin crypto project. So you can get to hear some really interesting people in the industry. And obviously, this conference is not the only one. You can definitely check out Blockdown, but there's lots of other great conferences coming up too that have gone virtual. So do a bit of research. See who is going to be hosting these virtual conferences, who's going to be speaking. A lot of the major conferences on the conference circuit, they have now gone online, so check it out. Most of them are free as well. And of course, you can get a great opportunity to actually sit down and listen to some of the top minds in crypto, talking about great ideas about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency overall. And of course, there's even going to be some networking events with online chat rooms set up and different speed networking events as well, so you can connect with other enthusiasts and other investors too. So pretty cool stuff you should check out if you're going to be isolated for a while. And my final thoughts for today's video: in spite of the world crumbling around us, there does remain massive opportunity out there for the savvy investor. And yes, I know that there is a global tragedy unfolding and it's incredibly tragic, but the harsh reality is that this is the kind of fear in markets that will make millionaires in the years to come. You may not want to hear that, but it's true. And the fact that Bitcoin is still fluctuating around this $6,000 zone actually is quite amazing to me, considering how fear has absolutely savaged so many other markets. Anyway, question for you for today. Do you think that corporations should be allowed to fail? Should the response to these big players be a capitalist response and let them fail, let them go out of business, or should it be a socialist response and bail them out? And what about regular people? Should regular people also be allowed to fail, or should they be bailed out too? I'm curious to know your thoughts on that topic down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure you're staying safe out there. Hope you're having a good time anyway, in spite of all the craziness going on. Watching some YouTube videos, hitting the like button for the YouTube algorithm, of course, the thing that we all have to do from time to time on YouTube. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys, if you are new around here. Be sharing lots of new updates as we go through this crazy crisis together on the crypto markets, on the wider markets, so make sure to tune in. I'll try to get out 5 or 6 videos a week for you anyway. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.